I'm with Britt Carmichael. So excited to have you here, Britt.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so grateful for our connection, and I can't wait to see the magic that unfolds based on how magical it was the way that we met.
I know. Yeah, we have to share this because when I met you, of all places, in the bathroom, where all good connections start, right?
Absolutely.
I forget like the spark that sparked the question or you asked. It was regarding the work that I think that I do, and I mentioned fertility, and right away you're like, "Oh, do you know my friend Catherine Gregory here in Colorado?" I was like, "She was my book coach." So the one that I got to birth my book through, and yeah, what a crazy connection. That's one of your good
I know.
friends.
I know. And what's even more crazy, like a little baby backstory on that, is that I went to Brendan Burchard's coaching experts academy in San Jose, California in 2014. And there was 2,000 people there. And you had like a color that you had to walk through the door. That was your color and the door
Mm.
you got to go through. And so when you would walk through the door, you would go and sit in different places. And depending on how many people went in anyway, every single time I sat down for the span of 4 days, I would sit down in a different spot in the room strategically, sometimes in the front, sometimes in the back,
Hmm.
sometimes in the middle, sometimes over
Hmm.
there. Every single time I sat down, I sat at least one row away from Catherine Gregory. And at the end of the conference, I was like, okay, who are you? What do you do? Spirit obviously wants us to connect. I keep, out of 2,000 people, I keep sitting next to you. Either you're stalking me or Spirit wants us to make a connection. And from that, over 10 years ago, our relationship has grown in so many ways. And we've done yoga on flower farms while I was driving through Colorado and just stopped in. And
Mm.
I stayed with her through
Yeah.
medical procedures and all kinds of stuff. So it's
Wow.
crazy how,
Wow.
over 10 years ago, Spirit brought me that connection that would then lead to the conversation in the bathroom. So when Spirit nudged me and said, "Hey, ask if she knows Catherine Gregory," I was like, well, that's oddly specific, like a very, but you're
Yeah.
infertility and you're from Colorado. I'm like, it's got
Yeah.
to be a small world, that's a
Yeah.
light working world. So I just loved how synchronistic it was. And that's how I knew how potent and powerful this connection was because of the way that I
Mm.
met Catherine and then that being our connection too. I was like, okay, spirit's on the move. And I just say yes when magical moments like that happen, whether they're in the bathroom or on a yoga
Yes.
mat.
Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful. Yes, spirit, definitely. I mean, this is going to be a big part of our talk today. And we met at Fempire, which was an event here in Colorado. And yes, I felt the same way, divine connection. So having you here is truly, I'm really grateful that this worked out to have this conversation. And for everyone who's listening, a little bit about you, your background as a psychic medium, an energy alchemist, you're a speaker, you're a serial entrepreneur. You have so many incredible talents, gifts. Yeah. Would you like to add anything else just as part of your introduction?
My gosh. Well, we always joke and say I'm 99% unicorn, but
Yeah.
honestly, I'm a 20-degree Libra. So that is
Mm.
someone who follows their passions, someone who is very, excuse me, passionate driven. And so I've always just asked myself, like, is this fun? Does this bring me joy? And if the answer is no, I just don't do it. And that's been
Mm.
a big differentiator on how I've built a massive empire around things that are my natural talents and skills. And plus, I didn't ask to be a
Mm.
psychic. I did not ever clock me for that. Okay, maybe a little bit, but I thought I was going to do hair and be a hairstylist and
Yeah.
I followed that passion, and then that led to empowering women through so many different avenues over the years. So after 20 years, I've developed a pretty wide range of passions that have turned into 6 and 7 figure businesses, which is
Mm.
why I'm so just genuinely excited about helping women figure out what they're passionate about and
Mm.
turning that into a way to serve people so that it's a win-win. It's an impact and income. And I
Mm.
always thought doing hair was going to be the avenue forever for me. I love doing hair. I love making women feel beautiful, but Spirit had a way of having me evolve through the creative expression and how I do that. And somewhere
Mm.
along the way, it was boudoir photography and coaching and then having my own near-death experience in Colorado. Like shit happens in Colorado for me, girl. I'm telling you, like that's why we were like always thought we would move there, and we hosted a lot of goddess
Yeah.
retreats in Colorado. But It's just been a following of what feels good now and what is my community asking me for. So I think that's the Libra
Mm.
part of me, is how do I listen to my community and then give them what they're asking for? And that's honestly how it started everything, just asking women two questions. Well, the first question is, what are you passionate about?
Mm.
And then there, I guess not a question. The second response was always, well, I don't know. I feel alone. And that's when I started going, okay, I need to create spaces for women so that they can figure out what they're passionate about, discover who they authentically are, and do it together. Because if everyone's feeling alone, and I felt that way too, so I'm like, well, let me do something about it. I love throwing a good theme and a party. So
Yeah.
and funny enough, today's a full moon. My very first event over 250 events ago started on a full moon. I was like, I'm just going to host a full moon goddess gathering and we're going to burn the bullshit. And that turned into like worldwide retreats and wellness annual events. And it's
Oh
just
my
been
God.
really insane how I thought following my passion of just doing hair then turned
Yeah.
into a revolution of empowering women to love themselves from the inside out.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Everything you're sharing. I mean, here in this community, we're all about the soul and listening to those sparks, those nudges, and you were listening. You were listening when you were doing hair, listening to stories, and then you held your first goddess gathering. What year was that? When you 20?
Gosh, I was gonna say we started the events probably in 2013 or
Okay.
2014, and the
Okay.
first, so it started with like gratitude cards, like making thank you
Mm-hmm.
cards for
Mm-hmm.
people, vision board parties, and then the
Mm-hmm.
goddess gathering circles started.
Mm.
I in 2018 is when that
Yeah.
started happening.
Oh my gosh, everything is so inspiring. I used to lead a moon magic and manifestation group with the new moon. And I know you have an
Amazing.
oracle deck. There's so many things I want to dive into, but something I read on your website, you said the life you're dreaming of, it's not just possible, it's already yours to create.
Mm. Yes, yes. It's if you've been inspired by an idea, if spirit has dropped that vision into your idea, like into your imagination, then that means it's meant for you. And that means that that possibility of bringing it to fruition is possible. It's just the journey on who you become in the process and the courage that it takes to listen to that intuitive nudge and inspired
Mm.
idea. Like, again, I thought I was just going to do hair. I remember Chris coming into my bathroom one morning while I was getting ready for the salon. I was putting on makeup and he said, Britt, I just had a vision of you. And I was like, tell me everything. And he said, I see you on stage empowering women and
Mm.
speaking to women. And funny enough, that's how you met me on stage speaking at Fempire. And babe, Lisa, I yelled at him. I yelled at him and said, no, I do hair. I'm a hairstylist. I don't do those things. So it's just funny to me to think back at the resistant parts of what was the trajectory of where I was going. But just in my mind, my
Mm.
identity was I'm a hairstylist and that's how I
Mm.
empower women. But I'll be honest, there became a block in that journey of, okay, I make them look beautiful on the outside, but they're still saying, I hate my teeth, or I'm married to a narcissist, or I could never ask for that 6-figure raise. And so I realized that, okay, I can make you look good. I can make you look damn good on the
Mm.
outside. But if you don't love yourself, if you're not
Yeah.
choosing empowerment and confidence and figuring out who you are and what you stand for and fuck
Mhm.
setting boundaries, like if you're not doing all that internal stuff, like that is what Shine from the Inside, all the products that
Yeah.
I make are about. It's about cultivating that inner beauty and love for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what magnetizes and radiates and
Mm.
creates like the transformation that everyone's like, how did you do that? When you look at my before and after pictures, it was like 200-pound angry black hair, like piercings everywhere, just like ball of madness. And you look
Wow.
at me now and you're like, that could never be you. I could never imagine you not like sparkly, but like I was an angry asshole and I did not love myself. And
Wow.
that's why I'm on this mission to say, actually, only you can decide that for you. No one's going to come and give you a magic wand of worthiness. And I'm going to do my closest by giving you a little oracle deck that sparkles to
Mm.
remind you of that power, that you do have an intuition that is guiding you step by step. So you never have to worry about what's the next step. Well, I don't have clarity. Like, then get quiet, go within. You have the tools to guide you to the next piece, even when it doesn't make sense. And that's the courage part. So clarity, courage. I don't know. We're building a framework here, sister. So I think it's just been a journey of figuring out who the fuck I am, having the courage to show up and shine that light.
Yeah.
And finding that frequency in which I want to harmonize with. Like I
Mm.
like to be my weird pink-haired, tattooed,
Yes.
sparkly self. And like I am 40 and going to the Hillary Duff concert tomorrow, you know?
I love it.
I don't care. Like I am all
Yeah.
about prioritizing play and fun and joyfulness in my
Yes.
life because I lived a life of anger. I lived a life of hustle culture and chased down the 6 and 7 figures. I did it in a way that was at detriment to my soul. And so when you talk
Mm.
about this community being of soul, I've lived both sides of the coin in business and life and personal relationships. And for me, finding that sense of inner child like joy and playfulness has like been such a priority in the years of in these later years where I've experienced a lot of grief and parents dying and pets
Mm.
dying, which are like my children, you know. So I, it's really kind of brought me back to a whole new perspective of what's important and what really matters.
Mm.
And play is always at the heart of that. And that's why asking that question, what are you passionate about, invokes a part of your soul that I think gets put aside to do what society you should do or what mom says or
Yeah.
had I listened to what my mom said, she begged me not to go to beauty school because she was a hairstylist. She's like, I don't want to
Oh.
want you following in my footsteps. So, it's just about beating to your own drum, listening to
Yeah.
what spirit is calling you to do, and then having the courage to step out and just try it, and not having
Mm.
the clarity, doing it without clarity, doing it with just enough heart and passion behind it to say, this is fucking crazy and I'm excited to see what happens. And that, I think when we can live in that energy, people would be so surprised at the miracles that they could manifest.
This is exactly why I was attracted to you and your frequency, your magnetism, and you're giving people permission to fully express yourself, show up and play. Thank you for sharing you have pink hair. For those not watching on YouTube, if they don't see you, you have pink, purplish hair. I wore pink inspired by you today, actually.
Oh, thank you. I know I had
And
to go with pink today too. So,
yeah, oh my gosh. But radical self-love, that's something that you speak a lot about. And for this community who are desiring to be moms, calling in a
yeah,
baby, I
yeah,
speak a lot about self-love. And in my book, Hold On Baby, it's all about holding on to you first, really
yeah,
tending to you, your vessel. And I love that you're talking so much about living from a place of what excites you, what lights you up, what brings you joy. I
yeah,
mean, that is like one of the ultimate forms of self-love, giving
yeah.
yourself permission to do what you love to do. And so many times
Mhm.
on our fertility path, women who are going through treatments, I know you don't know this path personally, but it can consume your life, it can take over your joy. And I strive to remind women to keep that self-love, that spark burning in them.
Yeah.
What would you say about the self-love piece and what that means to you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd love to just speak on the
Yeah.
fertility path and
Mm.
the self-love piece because although haven't gone through that, I have donated my eggs and I've coached a lot of women to fertility because a lot of it stems from energetics. It's why I
Mhm.
really was drawn to Catherine's work because she went to an energy healer and was able to realign her chakras and then have a baby after not being
Yep.
able to for so long. And so she was an integral part of my own personal journey of self-love because I was going down that energetic pathway of esoteric and Eastern medicine and natural healing, chakra alignment,
Mhm.
biofeedback. I'm married to a hypnotist, so we are always dabbling in the
Yep.
weird ass modalities. And so it was an interesting part of meeting her and having my own like personal self-love journey with myself and then talking about having a baby and then also how do you hold space for women who are going through that. So that's kind of what I want to dive into. So for me and my self-love journey, I'm like at a loss for words because I'm like, well, it started in the womb when my
Yeah.
biological alcoholic dad was beating my pregnant mother and I tried not to incarnate. So like I don't know how far down that rabbit hole you want to go down, but I remember being 8 years old and saying, I never want to have children. And my mom would say, oh, you'll change your mind. And I just had this deep soul knowing that I just didn't want children. And I always said to my clients, because they're like, you'd be a great mom. I'm like, I know, I'd be the coolest mom, but I want to be a mother to the world. I want to be able to nurture and love the people that don't know how to love themselves. And that's where the piece of how do women take care of themselves so that they can steward another soul? And when I coach women, I see this time and time again that their self-care is lacking, but they're trying to call in a baby. They have no time and they're not prioritizing any fun, any play, any wellness. Their food only changes if they get pregnant, then they eat clean. Like you have to prepare that vessel prior to that soul
Yes,
showing up. And
yes.
so it's interesting over the years of hosting these goddess retreats and doing chakra alignment work. I've had so many women come with the hopes of getting pregnant and then it happening after they take time to create space to figure out what old stories and wounds am I holding on to? What beliefs are holding me back? Why do I want to steward a soul? Is it, and what mirror is that going to reflect back to me? Because I see, in sometimes toxic relationships, we're like, a baby will fix it. I think we're starting to become so aware these days that maybe we're not jumping to that, especially in this kind of conversation and community, like we're beyond those days. But it's interesting to see what happens when these women come and they have these energetic blockages around fear, or they're not with the right partner, which is why they can't call that soul in. It's like, but I really want a baby, but I know I don't really like this person. I'll give you a quick example. I think this is a really fascinating story. I have a great friend of mine from middle school, beauty school. Like we've been doing life together, and she had been with a narcissist for 13 years. She had a baby who was 6 years old at the time, and he was mute, autistic, mute, never said a word. And as a medium, I receive insane dreams, very lucid dreams. And one dream, her son came to me and he was talking to me. I said, "What? Holy shit, you're talking to me." And he kind of nodded like, "Yeah, I can talk." And I said, "You can talk?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Well, why don't you?" And he said, "Because I'm afraid." And I said, what are you afraid of?" And he showed me an image of his dad. And that was it. I woke up from the dream. I called my girlfriend and I said, "I just had a dream with a message from your son." And I told her exactly what I just shared with you. And she says, "I know exactly the moment he made that decision. He was in my womb. I was crouched in fetal position in the bathroom, thinking, why am I about to have a baby with this man? Like, he is not safe. I don't feel safe." And so a lot of the times we don't even think about the environment we're trying to bring that soul into, not just our physical body, but the energy of like, is there a lot of stress at home? Like there's just so many factors. So I feel like there's 18 questions like layered into this conversation right now where it's like,
Oh my
let's talk
gosh.
about self-love and orgasms, but let's also talk about why you have to like heal yourself first
Yeah.
to attract any perfect partnership and relationship. That's not just an intimate romantic partnership, but that's also a partnership in a child. That's a relationship that you have, and all relationships are reflections. So I don't know where
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
go from here, because
Well,
it's so deep.
it is so deep and I love it. I mean, I'm here for it. So, the energetics, you spoke of that, and that is the work I do too. I mean, I have a whole course
Yeah.
on energetics of IVF, and it is chakra
Yeah.
alignment. You're so right. And preparation is everything, preparing our vessel. You talked a lot about safety, safety in the body. That is so important. And
Mhm.
for women, I mean, as far as maybe some self care practices, if you could, share any things that are coming to mind for women that are looking for cultivating more safety in their body as they're going
Yeah.
through this, like what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, my answer is always orgasm. And I know quickly how fast that can throw people's walls up if there's been abuse or trauma, because, hey, hashtag me too. So I understand that. But I
Mm,
also understand the liberation and the freedom that you get from reconnecting with your body and finding that path to pleasure. And that could be as simple as what feels pleasurable in just your day-to-day routine. Sometimes changing your environment is an act of self-love. There's so many different paths to self-love. I always joke and start with the orgasm part, like orgasm, and that's the best way to love yourself, you know? But
yeah.
I do understand when we're talking about IVF and fertility, like I have to be mindful of the joke. It's not a joke, because that is always my answer. Fucking please orgasm more. You will manifest more. You'll heal faster. You'll relax. Okay. You'll get out of your head. It's like the cure all for everything. So like, yes, I could go down the science behind why I
Yeah.
think that's the most important path. But I do understand that there's a sensitivity here when it comes to this community and this type of
Mm,
conversation. And so when it comes to self-love, I mean, having grace with yourself, I think is the first start, is accepting and having the awareness that yes, maybe there's some accountability and responsibility that I need to take in my actions and in my beliefs and in the way that I show up in my day-to-day routines and habits and relationships. So always on the path to self-love is shadow work. And the first step of asking yourself is like, what accountability do I hold and can I take in this? So when we talk about self-love, everyone can easily say like, buy yourself the jewelry and the flowers and the baths and the self-care, go to goddess retreat. Like honestly, that too. But it's really about, for me, and why I loved doing the full moon goddess gatherings more than any new moon manifestation, because y'all can all get creative and figure out what the fuck you want. What you suck at is letting go of what you don't want and
Letting
who
go.
you are not anymore, and the old identities and the beliefs that keep you trapped or stuck in that version of that you've outgrown. So for me, it's about facing the shadows and just going straight into the places where you resist and avoid and don't want to go. And so when we talk about self-love and pleasure and changing the energy of things, I feel guided to share a tool that helped me feel safe in my body after abuse and childhood and blah blah blah, and trying to find love through sex in with anyone, and that didn't work. So much forgiveness work around that had to happen to clear the energy of feeling like a whore or feeling like a slut, because I received that label when I was in 7th grade, and that was a hard one to shake. And I'll never forget, like, about to have sex with Chris. We've been together 20 years. At this point, it wasn't that long. And I said to him, I started crying before we were about to have sex. And I said, I feel like a whore. And he said, well, are you cheating on me? I was like, no, babe, of course not. Like, hell no. Like, you're the one person I'm not going to. Like, and so he's like, then let's explore why those old feelings are coming up when you're in a safe environment. And one of the Tantra practices that we did that really helped me to unlock a lot of that was doing de-armoring. I don't know if you teach on that, but de-armoring is an internal yoni massage where you or a partner, depending on where you're at in that journey, goes in and explores the internal workings of where you're holding on to tension and pain and trapped emotions. Trapped emotions will feel like pain when you press on the walls of those, like the vaginal walls. And so it's really an inward spelunking of energetic trauma that you hold on to. So yoni de-armoring is something that helped me to develop safety back into my body, to understand what am I holding on to from childhood, honestly, which is it's sad to find out how much we store and how much that body remembers. And for me, doing that de-armoring was a really powerful way of diving into some of the most scary and vulnerable parts of my healing journey. So as much as I'd love to say, like, self-love is a great practice of like gratitude and forgiveness and doing what you love and prioritizing self-care, like, if I could just, that's why I created the Shine from the Inside Oracle deck. If I could just get the bitches to spend 5 minutes a day with themselves, then that would change their lives. And I realized, after having thousands of women go through my Shine School self-love mastery program, y'all all know what to do. Y'all are fucking wise women. What you don't do is prioritize the time and actually implement and embody the energy and wisdom that you know. And that's what's keeping so many women stuck, is that they know what to do. They're not actually embodying it. And so when you ask about self-love, I want to talk to the women that already know what to do. They're just not prioritizing it and putting it on the calendar. My first lesson in Shine School is schedule it or it ain't happening.
Yeah.
So I think, what is it that you could schedule in your calendar every day to show up for yourself, to put yourself first, to pour into you? Because if you're trying to bring a kid into this world and that routine isn't dialed in and locked in, like, fuck, that's like, call me when you come up for air after 9 months, like, because if you can't dial in a routine for yourself, how are you going to dial a routine in for 2 people, and probably for the partner that needs your help too? Because you're probably parenting them, if I'm being honest.
Oh, Britt, I just love how real you are. So raw. And thank you so much for sharing personal things about your life. I did not know the term yoni de-armoring, but I'm going to explore that. I'm more familiar with like clearing inside the womb, but not, teaching individuals about the internal physical releasing. But you touched on release, and that is so important. The letting go, which is equally critical. I mean, we throughout this path, we're continually holding on, we're letting go. And the letting go, this ties into manifestation, which I know you're all about as I am as well. And manifestation, this community, I mean, manifesting a miracle, we are here to draw in more magic, more miracles into our everyday life. And the women here do want a baby. That is what they're calling in.
Yeah.
A couple things you could share as much as you want to about that has not been one of your desires to call in, as well as manifestation. I want to talk about that and what it means to you, and yeah, how we can just open up this conversation around manifestation.
Yeah. So I absolutely love talking about manifestation because we're always already doing it. It's just about getting you in the right mindset to create what you do want. Most people are, as Chris, my husband, would say, living in the future and planning to fail. He calls that worrying. Most people are leaving this present moment and projecting into the future of what they don't want. So they're manifesting what they don't want. They're always manifesting. It's just, are you creating a reality in which you do want to experience or one that you're resisting? So there's so much that I could dive in on manifestation. In fact, I have a whole method called the Manifest Your Dreams method, where I talk about the energetics of masculine and feminine paired with astrology and the 6 pillars that I stay in harmony with, like discipline and flexibility and devotion. Those are some of the things that if those aren't dialed in your self-care routine, then you're probably got a kink in your like flow. And that's usually when people are like, I'm calling in the thing like this and it's not showing up. I check on these 6 things and ask, well, how is your discipline and your routine and your self-care? And that's why, again, going back to, if you can't take care of you, it's going to be a lot harder to take care of other people. So we'll circle back to manifestation, but I really feel, we were chatting a little bit before about how I have chosen not to have kids. And I knew from a very young age that I didn't want them. And I never knew why. I just knew so deeply in my soul. There was a few things that I knew. One is that I was going to find my man. And 2 is that I was not going to have children. And that was just something I always knew to be true. And when I met Chris right at 20, I had just turned 20. And he slid into my MySpace DMs and he said the code word, finding the elixir of life. I was like, he's the one. I just kept saying he's the one. And I put my phone number, didn't even write back. That was it. He called me up. I actually hung up on him on the first call. He was saying he was going on a date with someone. I'm like, what? You don't tell me that. You don't tell this crazy girl that. So he came off really real from the beginning, but he when I met him, he had already had a vasectomy. And so I was like, oh my God, you mean I can get off birth control and like I won't have kids? And so I already knew he was the one. But when he told me that, I was like, oh, he is really the one for me. Like I'm never going to I won't have kids. And so for me, it was like this like unlocking of kind of like a piece of why do I not feel this way? And I'll continue to share how all of it comes full circle. But he said to me, I had had a vasectomy because I had 5 failed stripper stepmoms. And basically his dad beat him his whole life. And he's like, I don't want to repeat those parent wounds that he had endured his entire childhood. And I never really knew why I didn't want kids. I just knew that he said he would never get married because all women want children, and that I was never going to have kids, but I knew I was going to get married. And so I finally talked him into marrying me after 4 years of being together. And it was so interesting because to pay for our wedding, I actually donated my eggs. So there is a child out there. I chose to be anonymous. I was 23 at the time. So I think had I done it at 40, I would be like, I want to know, I want to be a part and send birthday presents and like see how cute she is or he is or whatever, But at 23, I was definitely not ready for that. I was like, I've got good genes. I'm a catch. So I just want to help somebody out. Yes. And also I'm 23 and I need to pay for this wedding. And I heard that's that'll pay. So it was like a kind of a win-win. Like I get to solidify my love and my life and like this next chapter, like the thing that I dreamed of my whole life, and pick the flowers if he loves me not shit, And then I can bless someone with a baby who like absolutely wants that. That's like part of their dream. So I went through that, getting the shots and going every day and doing the treatment. So I understand what you're going through as far as that part of the doctors every motherfucking day and the shots every day and the this and the hopeful. And I had to take a 600 questionnaire personality test and meet with a psychiatrist. And I mean, I understand from that point. So I have so much compassion for like how much passion you have for wanting to be a mom. and what you're willing to put your body through. I literally had a client come to me after years and years of acupuncture and this and the scraping and let's try this. And when she finally got pregnant, had that baby, I cried for her. I cried so deep in my soul that I think a part of the mother wound of not having kids like healed in knowing that she had got her miracle. And so I donated my eggs, and then years later had a past life regression experience. Thank God I married a hypnotist. I
Mm.
do this past life regression, and he says, I want you to go back to a time that's currently affecting you in this life. And I went to a time where I had a little girl who was about 5 years old. We were in like this Arabian market. He said, look around. Are you a male or a female? I said, I'm a female, and I have a little girl with me. And we're in like this Aladdin Arabian market and like the
Mm.
apples and all the things. And he said, now fast forward to a time in that life where it caused you pain. And she passed away at that age. And it showed me that in that lifetime, I made a vow that I would never have kids again. And so when I met Chris and he said he didn't want to have kids in the vasectomy, it was like a past life version of me, like had already put that into motion. Now I share this with you because so much of my healing and understanding of why I didn't want kids came through that understanding and a realization of the pain that it does cause that you experience when you lose a child. I vowed that I never wanted to feel that pain again. Well, fast forward, I get a hairless cat named Noodles, who's my soul child baby. Like, when you have that soul pet, he was
Yeah.
my child. And when he passed away, there was a song that came to me that just made me cry and made me feel like it reminded me of Noodles, and it was called The Vow. And so I was sitting at my altar crying to my angels saying, I made a promise that I would never feel this feeling again. Like I never wanted to feel this sense of loss. And the guidance that they gave me, and I think this is why I meant to share this, is that you will always experience that no matter what, because on this earth plane of physical manifestation, everything changes. Everything, you will lose everything, like everything transformed. Nothing lasts is the message. And so if you're going to put yourself to be vulnerable at the risk of love, like you're going to have to be vulnerable to the grief of it too. And so I think there's a lot of grief that women carry and hold, and that can also create a calcification on the energy of trying to bring in life. And my first advice is always, have you stopped fucking for fun? Let's lighten it up here a little bit. Have you stopped fucking for fun? Are you tracking yourself so much that you've taken the love, the joy, the passion, the like pull your hair out and sweat, like the good stuff? Like we got to get back to that. So I understand the grief and the journey and the cycle and the hoping and the I'll never know. But I guess my biggest advice on self-love and the best Zen philosophy that got me through my mom's paralyzing stroke was accept what is and you will end suffering. And it may not be what you want it to be, but in the moment, it at least alleviates the pain, the unnecessary pain that we don't want you feeling, like.
Yeah.
I'd love to find a way to how do we make this a joyful experience, even if it's hard or even if we don't get the end result, how do we bring joy back into it? And I think that will help. It'll help at least the heart and the soul to find peace again,
My mom too, she would say like, it is what it is. And just getting to a place of acceptance. Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
got to that place too, when I was confronted with, this is the path forward for us, IVF, and
Yeah.
relating that to manifestation.
Yeah.
um, Surrendering is a buzzword, right? That we hear a lot about, and um, loosening our grip, making space for things to unfold.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk a little bit about, again, manifestation and how, like, for women who are listening, who might, maybe that could be a triggering word for them if they're like thinking like,
Yeah.
if they feel blamed, like things are not working out.
Yeah.
Um, how would you open up that conversation with a woman who might be feeling that way?
I know it's such a delicate and sensitive topic, and
Mm-hmm.
so many people have such a different response to that sensitivity, where some people might laugh about it and just like,
Mm-hmm.
sarcasm it out. Some people might just be so sensitive where they are triggered and they just break down and cry because, it just depends on where you're at in your journey. But I think surrender is the first step, always accepting what is, like, this is where I'm at. So what good can come from this? At what stage am I at? How can I find the joy in this? And I think it's bringing the joy back into the journey, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
So no matter where you're at and what the outcome is like prioritizing how can I bring joy into this moment. I know it's like
Mhm.
such a fucking hard, it's like telling someone who's grieving, like, just find joy. Like, it's
No,
like
yeah.
almost an impossible thing to do, but at the same time, that is the answer. That is the advice. And it's how fast can you get back to, okay, this is the journey. We're going to do it the best and the most open and scared but courageously as we
Mhm.
can, and hope for that miracle and pray for the best. And I think that's where
Mhm.
you find the balance of surrendering, is like you have to be proactive to like make sure that you are eating clean, clearing out some traumas and some mama traumas and some daddy issues, like we've got to clear
Mhm.
the energy space and the belief system. Like,
Mhm.
some one thing that I've also seen in hypnosis, which is crazy, but people that have people that have had past experiences in past lives where maybe there was harm to a child or to someone end up not being able to in this life. So there's so many different factors when it comes to why is this not manifesting for me? Could it be energetic? Could it be physical? The answer is it could be a little bit of all of it. And that's what's
Mhm.
interesting about going down this journey. So when we talk about manifesting and we're trying to manifest a baby, I think we have to be open and flexible.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's kind of reminding of my transformation framework. It's called Shift. The S is surrender. So I
Mm.
guess we'll just go through this journey because that's what's coming up.
The
So
spirit telling you to go down this
hey
path.
man, we just do what I hear.
I
So
love it.
I during 2020 when everything was changing and people were transforming and being faced with like some of the hard truths and some of those parts of themselves that they didn't like, I created this framework called Shift on how to navigate change and transformation without
Yeah.
self-sabotage and without like spiraling back into the old version of your identity
Mhm.
that you're leaving behind. And S in Shift stands for surrender. And surrendering is accepting what is. And that's a hard part. Surrender sounds like, okay, well, let's just go with the flow. It's like easy to surrender in a river and just like float on a little river with your little cool umbrella drink. But when you're surrendering to life and to the unknown, the
Yeah.
mind does a good job at trying to protect us and put those brakes on and be like, scared. No, I'm in control
Mm.
and we're going to go this logical path. But if you want to manifest a miracle, it cannot be from your logical mind. It has to be
Mhm.
from a co-created, co-connected, like conscious allowance, if you will, because that's what you are. You're a vessel to bring in spirit. And when we put so much control and restriction on that, you're
Mhm.
taking away the magic and the divine timing of when spirit wants to bring that in. And I
Yes.
will tell you, I have coached many women. I just have so many people coming to mind now that we're having this conversation, like specifically geared around fertility. I have seen miracle after miracle of women changing their energy by relaxing, by prioritizing play, by doing some forgiveness work. I have seen some insane miracles of saying,
Mhm.
my goal is to get pregnant, like in my 90-day coaching and transformation. My goal is to get pregnant by the end of this. Like, girl, 90 days, you're putting the pressure on, but like, let me teach you how to take the pressure off and see what happens. And it's been really interesting to see how many people have gone through and had babies. So I know that there's a massive part of energy and energetic healing. So the H in Shift is heal. And so you have to take a step back and say, okay, if this isn't working for me because science says we do this to make a baby and it's not happening, then we have to take a step back and ask why. Why is it not happening? What's happening in the physical body of my and emotional and spiritual body of my partner? Because I
Mhm.
see partners blocking it. The woman's
Yeah.
fine. She's healthy. She's ready for that baby. She could call that soul is sitting right next to her, ready to be like, I'm coming, mom. But the partner is like, I'm afraid. Or one I
Mm.
saw he had cancer and they didn't know he was going to die in the next couple of years. So like I've seen interesting things where
Mhm.
maybe you think you're like, I'm great, but you're co-creating with another human and another soul and spirit, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
also have to step back in that healing process and ask like, where's my partner in all of this? How can I
Yeah.
support my partner?
Yeah.
So the healing is physical, it's energetic, it's emotional, and I'm sure you have tools to help guide people down that
Yes.
journey
Very
of
much.
what
Yes.
what are those tools, how do I do that, right? So I'm just addressing the root. Here's how you get to
Mhm.
the root. Go find the tools are out there. It's just a matter of having this understanding that the emotional and energetic body holds so much in being able to have birth. And I just don't think they talk about it enough in our medical society. And obviously, we know, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation about
Yeah.
how much money they're making on it. And they don't really want you to get pregnant. And then COVID shots and like, holy shit. Okay, that's like a whole nother rabbit
Whole
hole.
nother topic.
We'll like
I,
reel that back into the energetics of things. But yeah, it's really just about addressing the healing part of shift, and then integration. That's about, okay, how can I embody this? Now that I found that I do have some emotional resistance around, I'm mad at my mom, or I am lacking worthiness and looking for validation in a partner, or in the opposite sex, or hell, in the same sex, and somebody else, outside of myself. I don't care where you're from whoever. So we have to embody, we have to integrate, we have to say, okay, I've surrendered, I've taken a step back. Like, all right, my goals are not goaling. What the fuck? Okay, we have to have a moment to grieve and be like, all right, it isn't working for me. Take a step back, surrender, and say, all right, guide me to what in my life needs the most healing? Like, what is that energetic block? And then have silence, quiet time with yourself. Don't jump to the next thing or the next doctor, or the next person, or the next whatever. I mean, we're here to coach you, but at the same time, get quiet with yourself. Your body already knows. You just have to listen to her. So we integrate that healing. We listen to our body. We start doing the things that we know we should be doing, drinking the green juice, doing the yoga, being calm, stop drinking wine at night, that's the thing. And so from there, we have to flow. We have to being flexible again. There's divine timing. There's partner timing. There's like the moon phase. There's your hormones. There's like, what did you eat last night? Like a lot goes into play to make this happen. But at the same time, it is such a magical, natural process that you don't really even have to control. So many people do get pregnant without even trying. And so you have to think about how surrendered and relaxed and not in control, and they're not trying to get pregnant. And I just wonder where the energetic difference is in that. I get that there's physical bodies and differences and stuff like that. So I'm just saying, it's like when alcoholics get in a car accident and they're fucking fine, but the other person was all tense because they saw it coming and they weren't just like relaxed and surrendered. That's the energy I'm talking about. And then from flow, we go to T, and that is trust. You have to trust the divine timing and the process. And you have to trust yourself in knowing that you are capable of creating that baby. And so is your partner. And so is spirit. And if it is meant for you in the right time, in the right place, it'll happen. My fucking salon suite neighbor has a college kid, had her tubes tied. Partner has his vasectomy. And this girl gave birth to a little girl named Eden. I feel like I'm a part of it because I'm like, oh my God, we're having a salon baby and it's not meant to, like, what? How did it even happen? So you have to trust that if spirit wants to bring that vessel through you, that you relax and enjoy and give gratitude and thanks instead of like, it's not happening for me. Let's shift into, I'm so grateful that I get to be a vessel of this soul. While having the same flexibility and trust that if it is not meant for you, and I hate to say this is going to be the hard truth. So if you want to punch me, it's fine. But if it is not meant for you, and if your body or whatever combination is just like, this is not happening, then what does that mean for you? Who do you become because of that? How do you shift? How do you accept? How do you navigate and find purpose and find joy? If your purpose was, I want to be a mom, and it's not happening for you, I know that this is triggering, but what good can come from this? And how can you show up and pour that love into something, somebody, some project, some movement to help change the world? And use your magic and your love for good. So I know that's not an easy one. And I'm glad it's a podcast, so I can't see you being like, Brittney. But it really is like, if it's not happening, then we have to find a way to shift into, well, then how can I make the most of this?
I love your framework, the shift framework. That's so good. Yeah. Everything you're talking about, you're speaking my language. I mean, the flow, the integration, the trusting in the unknown is one of the hardest parts, I would say, that many individuals have one of the hardest times doing on this path.
Well, everything's unknown, always.
Yeah.
So that, then you can just say, all right, well, here's how I look at it. Here's how I can trust in the unknown. I look back at every turning point in my life, every lemon that life gave me, all the hard parts, and I fucking rose to the occasion. I had the resiliency, the grit, the stamina, the creative ability to problem solve and get through them. I'm still here. I'm on a podcast with you, babe. Like, I made it. And so if I can sit here after 40 years of knowing that I handled anything spirit gave me as a test of growth. And if you're asking to bring in a baby, there's a lot of tests of growth for that. You know what I'm saying? So if I know that I have gotten thus far, then I know without a doubt I will continue to use those same tools and that wisdom and the intuition, and honestly not waste my precious life force energy on worrying and fear and doubt that that next hurdle will come. I am sitting back in certainty that it will come because I keep asking for growth and I keep asking for expansion. So of course it's going to show up. So instead of wasting my good energy on that, I'll sit back, chill, and be like, all right, when that next mountaintop is ready for me to climb, I'll have the energy, I'll have the stamina. And then I'll also have the creative sensibility to say, okay, shit, this isn't working at all. We have to completely pivot and not feel like I'm not a perfectionist, like I'm not going to do it, like I'm going to fuck up, like I'm going to do it wrong, because I might. But I'll quickly adjust because I'm in the moment and I'm willing to give myself grace. And I think that's kind of the message that came through earlier is like, first step to self-love, give yourself grace. You're not perfect. You're not going to do things perfect. I literally just hosted this massive women's wellness event. And at the very end of the day, I did good. I started my period that morning. So I did damn good to like keep my emotions on lockdown. But at the end of the night, my best friend who helps me run the events asked me a question and I snapped and I was like, I don't know, just put it in the car. Blah, blah, blah. And then I immediately was like, whoop, I came at you crazy. I apologize for that. Let me take accountability for my energy and that I'm bringing to the space. And it was like a 0.5 second delay. Whereas like it would be 4 years where I'd be like, fuck that bitch. I'm not apologizing. You know what I mean? So it's like, how can we shorten the gap into the awareness that we have around the actions that we're taking and the emotions that we're choosing to feel? Because at the end of the day, we get to choose if we're going to latch into the feelings of grief that arise for us to recognize like something is sad and something is changing, or do we like how long do we latch onto them? So I think just the reminder of giving yourself grace and knowing that you are not your emotions, you are not your mind, and you always have that choice. And if something isn't working out for you, the question I always ask is, what good can come from this?
Britt, oh my gosh. I could talk to you for a long time. The
I know.
downloads
I feel
coming
like I
through.
want to
I'm
talk about
yeah,
all of it like for
all
four
of it.
more hours, really.
Yes. I mean, I feel like a part two is needed because I had like a million other things I too want to ask you, but um as a medium, and I'm sure listeners are maybe curious about this, like are the downloads continually coming through all the time, every day? Are you
The time.
yeah. And
Hmm.
for a woman listening who, I mean, I'm clinging on to every word that you're saying. I'm sure they're, just I am, and I'm just like soaking it all up. And I just appreciate you sharing the wisdom and the gifts that you've lived, embodied, and are here to spread. What's coming through as a message you could speak to a woman listening who is desiring to be a mom? They are, and you talked about in the becoming, who are becoming through this. I'm really passionate about that.
Hmm.
What what would you love to share to women listening?
I mean, the phrase that wants to come through is like, how would you mother yourself?
Mm,
How would you mother yourself? Like, what does your soul and your inner child need at this moment right now? Because if you're on this journey of desiring a child, then I would say this is maybe that point in the journey to take a pause, to respite, and just like maybe like, okay, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to like reevaluate. Especially, I don't know when this is going to launch, but if we're talking about
soon,
astrologically, us
soon.
talking, yeah, like right now,
Yeah.
we've moved into the sign of Cancer. We're talking about our emotions and how we feel, and we're in a retrograde. So it's all about assessing what is the end goal? Like, how do I want to feel out of all of this? And sometimes I think that when we're in a process of the long healing journey, the unknown, the out of my control kind of manifestations, that's a really interesting faith building road that you walk. And so I,
The
I don't know.
waiting, the waiting too, right? How do you
Yeah,
keep this whole dream alive during the waiting?
Exactly. And that, I think that's what it is. It's like you can't, like, if I want to lose 10 pounds, like I can control that pretty easily with my diet, with my exercise, with the like focus, real hard discipline. Now I'm saying it's harder as you get 40. Those motherfuckers weren't lying. Okay.
Closer to 50, right
Okay,
here.
like shit, man, it's not as easy as it used to be, but it is controllable, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, okay, I have sex and I don't know if I'm gonna have a baby, right? Like, it's a little bit less controllable sometimes.
Hmm.
And so you just kind of nailed it is like, how do I have this deep faith that I'm building with myself, with my partner, with spirit, and with the soul that wants to come through you? Sometimes I see, oh gosh, here's your message. Sorry, I'm going to divert from that.
Good.
Sometimes I see spirits come into the mothers at a certain time to like wake them up of like, okay, I'm pregnant now. I need to start eating healthy. I need to start doing the right routines. And then that baby and that soul leaves so that it's can come in at the right timing, the right incarnation. So that if you think about, I mean, the soul is choosing its exact
Mm.
astrological arrival so that it can develop the certain qualities and traits that it needs to be the reflection that you are calling in, because just as that soul is choosing the parent, right? Just as you
Mm.
chose your parents. And that's a whole nother psychic conversation if you want to go down that. But here's the real deal. Like you choose your parents, you choose your path. And so that soul is trying to choose you, but it also has sovereignty of when is the right timing. What are my characteristic makeup of the zodiac that I need to take and embody so that I can be that version of you that I have agreed to prior to this incarnation to show up and remind you to live a little, or what you have to remember that the soul is on its own sovereign journey too.
Mm.
It's not just about you. And so I feel like all my advice is like not the easy loving advice. Like I really am like a let me hug you and pet your hair kind of like lover, but at the same time I'm also the truth telling bestie that tells you what you don't want to hear, but that your soul needed to hear. And I
Mm.
think that that sometimes is like, it's not just about you, babe. Like sometimes it's about that soul that needs the right alignment and the right
Mm.
frequency. So, um, coming from a psychic energetic standpoint, not from a female who has empathic emotions for other women. The, when women have miscarriages, they take it so personally and they take it so seriously. I get it. Don't yell at me. From an emotional women empathic standpoint, I'm here. I know that's got to hurt and feel all kinds of ways. Okay. But
Mhm.
from a psychic energetic standpoint, what I see in all my readings with children who have passed at a very young age or miscarried is that they are like, get mom, stop wasting your energy on that and just try again. Like it's like
Mm.
baking a cake. Like you fucked up that formula. One thing was off. Like the baking soda was like a quarter of a teaspoon too much. That wasn't the right formula. Like I needed to try again. Okay. So just try again.
Mm.
So I know that that is probably some weird ass advice to like, how do we remove the emotion? You ask, how do I find the joy in it? Well, we have to stop taking it so emotionally personal, even though I know it sucks. It's hard. It's the same with like grief. You know, everyone you love is going to die. So, like, how can we move through that with
Mm.
a little bit more joy and not so much grief? And
Mm.
so, I think if we can just change our perspective on the cake recipe, you know, like
Mm.
maybe the
Mm.
sprinkles were off. Okay. Maybe the altitude was weird. I learned that baking a cake in fucking Colorado at the altitude is weird. You know, it's not the same. You got to change the formula. So I think knowing that that soul is sovereign and is wanting to choose you, but
Yeah.
in divine timing, you've got to let go of that control. And the more you have control, the more that you push that soul away of like, oh, I don't want to walk into that kind of like restriction.
Exactly.
So you got to create a sense of freedom and flexibility and playfulness, and that develops your faith, that develops your trust, and that
Mm.
that'd be the best blessing and gift you get out of the whole thing. I mean, yes, a kid would be like a cool cherry on top, but
Yeah,
honestly, developing
exactly.
trust and faith in yourself and in
Yeah.
spirit, I think, is the best gift you could get out of that journey. So I
Mm.
think finding the balance between like making it fun and being flexible with this process while also knowing that on the other side of that coin, maybe it won't happen. And how do I make the most of that? I think we have to be real in asking that question while always holding the tone for miracles and magic to be able to
Mm.
manifest in your life. That's always my first and foremost is like, I am shooting for the best, but I also will have
Yeah.
that realistic underline of like, okay, but if I don't want to disappoint myself or feel let down, what is that next avenue that I will embark on that will bring me joy?
So good, Britt. Oh gosh. Yeah, my mantra going through this was always expect something wonderful to happen. So that is the lens I was looking through. And the
And
magic was like the byproduct. Every day I was seeing daily
yeah,
miracles, magic, and that's a frequency that we want to call it.
yeah. I
Mm,
think it was Neville Goddard
mm,
says the phrase, "Isn't it wonderful that marvelous things are happening to me right now?" And
mm.
that's a phrase I carry with me every day. Isn't it wonderful that marvelous things are happening to me right now?
Ah,
And that just puts you in the right frame to be
yes.
looking through the lens of look for the good stuff, like look for what is happening. And
Mhm.
I mentioned self-love and gratitude. I had to throw it in there because really that is the attitude to get back to it. So if you're wondering how do I shift from being in grief and being upset and like disappointed and like in God and in something and like in this whole process, like because all those feelings will come up. So we have to just kind of recognize like, okay, this is where we're at. What good can come from this? And then shift into that positive mindset of like, but look at all the miracles that are
Mm,
happening. What
yeah.
good is happening? And when we can start to appreciate and honestly start appreciating the things about your body that are broken. Okay. Like I
Mm,
appreciate all of these parts of myself because when we resist those parts, then again, we continue to create that energetic resistance of calling in
mm,
children. So, like, if you don't like your body now and you're talking about how you're too fat, like, then what is the story you're going to say when when you are pregnant? And
mm.
that can play a part in calling in the timing of that
Yeah.
soul. So it's
Yeah.
like so many factors and not one of them are really being talked about in a mainstream type of way. You have to find
Yeah.
podcasts like this where you're willing to talk about some of the deeper emotional
Mm,
and energetic
mm,
wounding that is causing these issues. And only by coaching so many of these women, and
mhm,
I'm a, what is it? I'm not partial to them because I'm not
mhm,
trying to go down that journey. It's just I've
mhm.
worked with women that have gone down this journey time and
Yeah.
time again, and I've seen miracles happen. So it's like so cool that I've witnessed it from my perspective of not like I'm not even in I didn't think I was signing up for the
Yeah.
fertility world, but in the same sense,
Mhm,
any type of women empowerment and
mhm.
self-love, I mean, being fertile to manifesting dreams and birthing ideas or babies,
Yes.
it's the same,
Yes.
you know?
Oh, Britt. Gosh, girl. Well, just
I
talking
know.
with
Round two,
you.
we'll talk about sex magic.
Yes. Wow. Well, being here with you is a true gift, and thank you so much for being here. I want everyone to follow you, stay connected with you, and I'll include all of your links. Do you want to share any resources or website, your website?
Yeah, of course. I definitely want to hear what came up for you. So you can slide into my Instagram DMs at The World by Britt. And then all of my information from courses to events and retreats and coaching is all at brittneycarmichael.com. So many fun free resources, self-love meditations, there's
Yeah.
self-care challenges, everything that you need to be able to really tap back into who you are and reclaim your power so that you can own your authenticity and really embody the mission that you came here and the magic
Mm,
that you meant to share with the world. So definitely come hang out with me on Instagram. That's where I'm sharing.
mm.
That's where I'm dropping my daily wisdom. And then come find me on my website and get on the email list and come to an event. I'd love to see you and make some magic with you.
Yes. Well, hopefully I'll get to make one of your events in person.
Yes,
When I meet you
yes,
over in Colorado, we need to meet up. But
absolutely. Yeah, we
thank you
go
so
often.
much.
So I will.
Yay. Well, you're magical. Love you. Thank you so
Love you
much,
so much.
Britt.
Oh, I appreciate you, babe.
Me too.